See the red button. I see the clock ticking. Hey, we are live. Sue, this is it. Oh, I'm not going to start crying yet, but this is the last installment of Get a Klu in 52 speaker edition for speakers with Sue Mathieson all the way down under in Melbourne, Australia. This is the last one of the year. This is number 52. Can you believe it?
I know. That's amazing. Really amazing.
And it's like, you know, we joke about how we remember this time of year last year when I was supposed to be sad that I was finishing Get a Klu in 52 for coaches. But that wasn't even nowhere near as sad. I was like, yes, I got, I'm relieved. Because it's different when you've got a co-author. You know, it's when I've done the ones that I've done on my own, of course, are, you know, this one right here, the Get a Klu in 50. The other co-author, we had Vipul Dayal on the Entrepreneur Edition. We've had you. And so when these came to a close today, included with your, you know, it's a little sad. You know, it's a journey together, right? But even last year, when I was finishing up this, I wasn't that sad because I was looking ahead to our project.
Yeah.
And of course, as sad as I am that we're wrapping up our journey, right? I'm not that sad because I'm looking ahead to Kluby snacks. And of course, when we get done reading our tip today, I'm probably going to screen share and show some of how it's coming together. And it's just it's a treat. I'm getting close to uploading it to Amazon like today or tomorrow. So it's exciting. Really, yeah, we can get into that. But let's go ahead and let's talk about what we came here to talk about. Let's handle our business. Welcome to Get a Klu in 52 for speakers with Sue Mathieson. This is the last Friday of 2024. It's gone by really fast, especially when I look back, Sue, to 2020. 2020 seemed like it was 5 years all in 1 year. And by comparison, 2024 feels like it's 3 months in a year. And it's going to get faster, especially as I'm, you know, getting ready to watch my daughter leave for college. And it's just cool. It's cool. We've had a good year. And I don't know, do you have any end of year comments before we get into like setting the table for ourselves today?
Oh, for me, I did a summary. I did a reel on social media, and it was a lot of fun to put together images of all that I had done throughout 2024. It was an amazing year. Lots of very special memories, lots of opportunity, and it was very exciting to do that reflection.
Including it being here stateside, right? Here in San Diego, we did Authors Hour.
Big part. That was a very big part of my year, was my time in the US, traveling around with my sister and then finishing my trip off in San Diego and having that time face to face with Lisa Reed, with Diane Forster, yourself, meeting other members of the ISN network.
And my family.
I was just about to say your family. And it was, I think, as you, and you'll talk more about Kluby Snacks coming up for next year, but as you have been preparing for that, I'm like, I got to meet Abby. I got to hang out with her.
Yeah.
It's great. Really,
really
good.
Yeah. The whole thing's special. Okay. All right. Very cool. Well, you did a collage. Interestingly enough, yesterday, I did 1,000-piece. Well, not yesterday, the last 2 days. I started 2 days ago, finished yesterday, all by myself, 1,014-piece puzzle. And the pictures are just 5 pictures of Abigail, right? But my wife and I are in 3 or 4 of them. The other 2 kids are in at least 2 of them each. And so like doing this 1,000-piece puzzle is very therapeutic. And just, you know, like it's one thing when you do a puzzle and you're like, oh, you're looking for colors and you're looking at the box a lot of times, right? That every piece, that's my wife's eye. I know that's my wife's eye. I've looked into that eye before, and it's on a little puzzle piece. Or that's Abigail's smile. It looks like Marianne's smile, but that's Abigail's smile, and that's Abigail's big smile. So it goes in the bigger picture, not the smaller picture. And so I was just literally. It sounds funny, but I was picking up the pieces of my family and putting it all together.
What a fantastic puzzle.
Yeah, I posted on Facebook about it. Like I was taking a picture every hour to see the time, and it's just watching their faces emerge and watching. And I'm just sitting there, and you know. And anyway, it was a very cool thing for me to reflect. To your point, like from you know, last year adjusting to AJ being gone for the first time to this year getting ready for Abigail, and just watching them come of age, and this time of year to take it in and slow things down. I don't like the hustle and bustle. I don't like shopping malls and traffic jams and, wrapping. I don't like any of it. I like to breathe and just look into the eyes of my family. And like, it was cool because they weren't moving and they weren't talking back. It was like kind of perfect. Okay. Welcome to Get a Clue 52 for speakers. All right. So by now, you know that the Get a Clue in 52 books are organized into 5 categories, and we organized this one that way as well. Section number 1 was playing the integrity game, 10 tips straight from the integrity game, but they're 10 points on a personal professional growth model inside of a parable in the integrity game. But over here, they're tips to set your speaking foundation or to set a foundation for speaking. If you're going to use speaking to advance your career, if you're going to build a career as a speaker, it's all structural integrity, foundational stuff. Who are you? Why are you here? Yeah. What are your advantages? What are the strategies? What are the on and on and on, the 10 questions there. Then we wanted to bring out our brand on top of that. So this is differentiation and competitive advantage and sloganeering and avoiding humiliating humility, right? Making sure the world knows who you are, what you do, why you do it better or differently than anybody else that also does it, right? So bringing out your brand is like the landscaping and the decorations and the interior design on top of the structural integrity you established in section 1. Now we're ready to write speeches. So Be Fearless was our 3rd section where we focused on the 8 steps to fearless public speaking, but we wanted 10 tips in the book. So we threw 2 mindset tips in the open, and then starting tip number 23 through 30 are the 8 steps to fearless public speaking. Step 5 ended up being number 27 for us. But for you and for me and for the thousands of people that I've taught public speaking to over the years, it's such an important tip. The step of outlining, getting thoughts, ideas, concepts out of our head onto paper in a line item form. And it's so important. We discussed it strategically as we were going through section 3, but then we gave it its own section in section 4. Elements, forms, and functions of a solid outline. How outlining and getting ready to outline, doing an outline properly, and then coming out of the outline is going to help us be fearless. It's going to help us be more conversational. It's going to help us adjust to fits and starts and interruptions and unexpected occurrences. Things happen, right? Unexpected stuff happens in any public speaking situation. And the more prepared you are, the better you're able to incorporate, adapt, and roll with those punches. So we focused on the elements, forms, and functions. And that got us to where we are now. 11 weeks ago, we started practice building. So Sue, do you want to take it away from here and you want to review what we've been talking about since tip 41, and then we'll read the last tip of the book?
Yes, I can do that. We started off asking the question, is it worth it? Going through all the time, money, effort, fits and starts that you talked about, Jeff, all the pressures and the unknowns of going into a business. And so we start at the top there.
Yeah. That's it. By the way, we're doing org chart 101, or I forgot to mention that we do this to the theme of 99 bottles of beer on the wall. So let's keep it jovial because these accountabilities keep coming. So we started, and what you see here, I just want to make sure that any viewer out there knows that the number 1 that they see on the screen corresponds to tip 41 in the book, and then 42, of course. Go ahead, Sue.
Yeah. So once we've just if we answer the question yes, we're going to go ahead and create that business, and we need someone to run it. Right. And often we start out as us in all of the boxes, but we need that chief operating officer who is going to run it. And then we moved into 43. Yeah,
well, real quick, just to make a note, across from left to right, marketing, sales, operations, and finance. So the idea is whoever's running the business needs really good people right here to give this person a weekly report on the KPIs so that they can be strategic and make sure what's not running runs or what needs to run better can run better, etc. So we go into, go ahead, Sue, we go into the operations department for tip number 43.
And answer the question, do we have a menu? And it's we might call it research and development or product service development, but the question is, and if we're from a speaker, is that all we're offering?
Yeah.
Or do we have other options that we can offer to the market?
Yeah. What else are we making available to the person other than just keynotes? right? Or do we want
Yes.
to, and we're in the context of practice building, do we want to build a practice? Do we want to build a business? Do we want our 100% of our income to come from speaking? If so, we might need to put something other than speaking on our menu. It's one of the jokes that we're making all the way through. Oh, you're a product and service, you're a research and development specialist? No, I'm a speaker, damn it. Okay, cool. What else is on your menu? Nothing. Well, good luck building a speaking business if that's all that's on your, so we're going to come back to that rhythm. And I might even go backwards, Sue, and read some of the one-liners. But yeah, I just wanted to elaborate on that real quick. So we're, once we strategize, add, take from, enhance, tweak the menu, then what?
Well, then we need to move into the marketing department and look at what we need to do to bring the information in. What do we know about our customers? What do we know about our competition? The conditions, the climate that we're operating in. We need to do our research and get that information in. And then naturally, of course, once we've got all of that information in, pushing it out. So we're still in the marketing department, but we need to get our information out, get the message out to the marketplace.
Yeah, and one of the things that's really interesting about this, Sue, is that when you think of marketing. Well, I'm a marketer. I do marketing. What do? I'm a marketer. I work in marketing. I'm a marketing professional. I do marketing. Well, hang on. When we stop to imagine the type of person that wants to conduct research, gather data, do surveys, create, that's analytical behavioral style, a researcher. But that's a marketer, right? Versus what you're talking about right now, pushing information out. That's a persuader promoter. That's right. And so I just want to make sure that we understand the context that we're talking about right now. Among those two, what do you think I like doing more? Market research and studying and analyzing data, or getting messages out? What do you think I prefer? What do you think is more naturally instinctual for my? Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But this is my business. I'm a speaking business. Right? You understand? I'm just trying to be honest. I'm laying the groundwork. I'm not a researcher.
For me,
I'm not a researcher. I'm a speaker.
I'd happily do the research.
Yeah, well, no wonder we make a good team here, Sue. The laughter, the joke is on me. The joke is on us. The joke is on anybody who's trying to identify with this book through our experience. We're being vulnerable and raw, right? Hey, I'm not a marketer. I'm a speaker. Oh yeah. Well, how do people know about your speaking business? Well, I put these messages out there. Here we go. Right.
Yeah.
And it got really funny when we were talking about that in the context, go ahead, of sales. There's only one accountability in the sales department, right?
Well, exactly. Once we've got that message out and people are coming to us, we've actually got to convert them.
Are you a salesperson? No, I'm a speaker, damn it.
Well, exactly. But we do. We've got to convert, we've got to enroll, and we close.
All right. So once they've hired us, then what? We come back over here to make sure they get what they paid for?
Yeah, well and truly, because we want the repeat and refer game, and it's not rest and relaxation, the R&R.
Yeah.
But yeah, once we've got them, we want them to have such a fantastic experience being with us that they're out there referring us, but also looking for what other opportunities they might have to keep working with us. So that's really key. And then tip 48 was really knowing our surroundings. So we talked about the facility management being what's the space that we're working from, whether it's the home, the office, the car, even. What's the environment? Are we making sure that whatever space we're in, it adds value to the experience of our clients and who we're working with? And I loved in that tip where you, Jeff, talked about your experiences of all the different environments that you've worked in. And we had a bit of a chuckle about some of your anecdotes and the lengths that you've gone to make sure that you create the best environment.
Yeah, my favorite right there is like, we've all worked at Starbucks, but like I've taken it to like where I go to the Starbucks whose parking lot I know allows me to park close enough to their Wi-Fi to be able to work from my car without going into the Starbucks. So that I can control the environment, even though my computer's melting on my dashboard, or I got to sunk down in my chair to get the angle to open it up so it doesn't hit the windshield. Or Eddie, right? We've taken it to those types of extremes. But I've done business. If you look at all the accountabilities on this org chart, I've done flyby coaching videos, which is creating content to push info out. At 10,000 feet elevation, or as I'm literally taking off on airplanes, I've shot marketing content, right? Like, so when you're looking, all business takes place somewhere. It's not just where you have the meeting or where you dress up and go to work, but where all the different places where, and this is not a point we didn't make in the book, but I'm emphasizing now. It's not just like the lengths you travel to do business in different places, just the Zooms or the meetings when you got it, but like, what's functional? Is it a garage? Is it a bathroom? Is it a hallway? One time, I was on campus at San Diego State and I was getting ready to be interviewed and I was looking for good Wi-Fi signal, but I didn't have time to leave and go anywhere else. And I just ducked into an empty classroom. So there I was in an empty classroom at San Diego State conducting business, right? So we want to pay attention to functionality of the where, not just an increased understanding of where business takes place to create the experience that people will have, but we also want to expand our understanding of what counts as functional so we can maximize productivity. I can do something in my business, whether it's if I've got 1 minute, if I got 5 minutes, if I've got 15 minutes, no matter where I am, I can work.
Yeah.
I can be productive. So that's a point that we didn't necessarily put in writing on this. I was having fun with the diversity of places that I've done, but I want to just shine a light real quick on the functionality and the utility, and to be scanning for utility. Ask yourself, could I do anything here? Could I do an interview here? Could I record something here? Could I meet somebody here? Could I, whatever it is? So continue. Yeah.
I think that I really like that point of being aware all the time of is there opportunity to do something in a moment that might add to your business.
It's prevalent on social media. Of course, you see people walking and talking these videos where no matter where somebody is, they're relating their life to business and they're just shooting a quick video. Like, we've got these amazing things in our hands that are breaking up what's possible, really, really exponentially increasing what's possible. So I think that's important for us to communicate to people. I could screen share and show, but I was on a morning walk the other day, right? And I remember, my marketers, they asked me for video for the arena, for the group mentoring, and for the podcast, right? And I could screen share and show, but I was like, I'm on a 1 hour walk. How can I feed two birds with one grain? So I'm like, hey, everybody, I'm on my 1 hour walk. And when I'm not shooting videos for my membership site, I like to listen to podcasts. So welcome to the podcast portion of the arena, and just always thinking about optimization and efficiency and how can I, do two things at once. That's a tip that shows up in other books when we talk about leverage and synergy. So it's just something to keep in mind to expand. And I don't think that we talked about the utility factor, usefulness, to expand our understanding of what counts as a possibility for a place to do business. We just talked about, the experience that people have when they go to where business takes place. But I just wanted to jump in there. I'm getting warmed up now, Sue. I'm almost ready to read this.
I like that because it's so key. It's so key, and it's about being efficient and productive, and lots of opportunities. So from here, we moved into the finance department.
We sure did.
Tip 49 was looking at strategic accounts payable. So what it is that we can do to maximize cash flow and minimize any wasteful spending that we might have. And then on the flip side to strategic accounts payable, tip 50 was strategic accounts receivable. So again, acknowledging that bringing money in still costs. So being strategic about that and minimizing any expenditure that might be incurred, but looking at ways that we can make sure that we're optimizing that revenue coming in. Then from there we went into tip 51, which was last week, where we talked about transactional finance, and that was very much around the necessities of paying our taxes, having a bookkeeper, making sure that we've got everything in order, and having systems in place. What can we do to make that efficient? Again, is that something we're doing ourselves, or is there someone who we can delegate that to? Which brings us to our very final tip today.
Before we get there, I just typed this out real quick. I think that it's expensive to collect money. Back when we were talking about strategic accounts receivable, we talked about the expense of collecting, that it's not just collect money, but it costs time and money and resources to collect money. And it sounds silly, but I think it's funny. I wanted to see it on screen as a Klu snack. Again, I want the world to know we had to get from over 100 Klu snacks down to the 52 that Abigail and I chose, and they were the ones that were relevant to her. So we're not talking about the sales-related ones, the marketing-related ones, not of the speaking-related ones, or the branding-related Klu snacks. I mean, there's still a whole universe of Klu snacks to get to beyond just the ones that Abigail and I bonded over, right? And maybe this makes it to the list, right? It's expensive to collect money. I think that's fantastic. I've never heard it out there before, and it lands. But yeah, you're right. We're ready to rock and roll now. On tip number 52, it brings us, drum roll, I'll stop sharing, to see if you have any comments before we get in. We're like, here we go. Like, I want to make sure ends up being a little bit of a longer tip than I expected, because we're going to get into, it's like I was in a party mode, celebration mode, almost like New Year's. I love this week. It's my favorite week of the year, in between Christmas and New Year's. Like, oh God, that's gone. And I still got a couple days to get ready for what's coming. Right, it's like one of my favorite weeks of the year. But any comments before we get in? I'll take my deep breath and get ready to read this bad boy word for word.
Yeah, no real comments. I think I have really enjoyed the depth that we've gone into in this section, as we've reviewed at a very high level, but I think they're opportunities for people to touch base with every element that is key in that organizational 101 chart, to consider and ask themselves, hang on, where do I really sit? Am I still in a practice, or am I transitioning into a business? And what do I need to do to transition into what might be called a true business? What does that involve? And so it's been really great to do a deep dive.
Yeah. I mean, like, we've been spending now, this is our 12th week in a row just on Org Chart 101. So, that's 3 months of thinking about this, right? So it's hard to do that because we become what we think about. And so now, isn't it like there's a little incremental increase in the amount of awareness that you have when you're just going about your day. So, we've all been there where we wake up in the morning, if we're solopreneurial, we don't have like a full-time contract or an employee, a paycheck job, right? Where, what do I do today? What do I do? What do I do now? Like, oh, I've got openings in my calendar. What do I do now?
Yeah.
Sometimes I wake up and I go to sleep at night, and I know, like, the first thing in the morning I got to be somewhere, and I don't ask what do I do now until later on in the day. Those days are nice, but the days that really suck are the days where I wake up first thing in the morning and go, what do I do? Right. Yeah. And so we've all been there, I think, in just as opposed to, or in contrast to spending 3 months on it, reading word for word as we have, and reviewing it and cycling through and really up-leveling. I'm not just doing this right now. I'm facilities management. I'm not just, right? Anyway,
yes.
By contrast, just rating on a scale of 1 to 10 how well we feel we are meeting these accountabilities. If that's all we did, which would take us all of 5 minutes, we just 1 through 12, and I'll screen share again, right? If all we did, let me bring this up. If all we did was just say, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well am I meeting the accountability of knowing if this is worth it? Okay, I'm pretty good there, right? It's definitely worth it, right? Well, sometimes it doesn't feel like it when I don't know where the next, client or gig is coming from, but generally you follow. All right, is it a 10? No, it's an 8 or whatever, right? All right, well, how well are you running it? Uh-oh. It runs, but that doesn't mean I'm running it well. We're down to a 5 or a 6 here. Okay. Tell me about your menu. All right, I got a lot on my menu. As a matter of fact, if I have a problem with my menu, I got too much on my menu. I confuse people. People want to know the one thing I do, and that's always my big problem. So I can't call it a 10 because people are still confused, but there's still a lot of stuff on my menu, so I'm better off than most. Okay, 8, right? Okay, how well are you doing market research? Next question. How well are you promoting? Right? Okay, so if I just went through, it would take me 5 minutes. And now I'm going to have a list of 12 accountabilities. I'm going to know what they are. Right? Is it worth it? Does it run? What are we selling? Who are we selling it to? How do they know we can buy it? How do we get them from interested to committed? How do we serve them once they commit? Right? Where does all this take place? What are we paying for? What are we collecting? Does Uncle Sam know what's happening? And are we being smart about it? Okay. Yeah. So if I've got those memorized, those 12, whether I'm looking at the screen or not. And if I just say, all right, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, what's the number that represents how well I'm meeting each accountability? Very simply, Sue, it's like, ooh, I'm not doing the really good job here. And, I don't know if I'm doing the best job here. I need some quiet time so I can really evaluate strategy around income, expenses, and budgets and so forth. You know what? I need to do a better job here, which means I need to delegate some of this stuff. So I need to create a standard operating procedure for some of the things that happen here, so I can have more time for this or whatever it is, right? So just playing the org chart 101 game. But the thing is, wouldn't it? What do I do now? All right, look at these 12. What's your lowest score, and start budgeting some time for that.
Yeah.
Right. And so and what a difference it can make in somebody's prioritization, somebody's focus, somebody's ability to ask for help, somebody's ability to delegate, sit down. Like, doing what's easy and fun is easy and fun. Doing what's necessary and difficult is difficult but necessary. Right.
Yes.
So yeah. This is what we're talking about, and I'm trying to be as honest as I can about it. I've gotten to a place that I like, but some days I'm terrified. Some days I freak out. Some days I don't know what's next in the future, or if it's going right, or if people get it. I just want to be real about all of that. And here we go. Sue, anything else before we get into the word for word?
No, I love what you've just done, actually, of the opportunity that we have provided for people to do that check. And it brings us to today, where we're looking at strategic finance. And I open up reading word for word here, where I say, this is all great, Jeff. There is a lot more to running a speaking business than I originally thought. No wonder you call it a practice instead of a business. I'm definitely going to need to address this accountability chart, as well as all of your tips. I'm considering your comprehensive advice. I find myself wanting to make sure I'm getting full advantage of your coaching. That leads me to one last question. If I'm in a position that I'm making a surplus, are there any other financial considerations I need to make?
Well, that is something that I hope all my speaking clients one day need to know, because I want them all to get to the point where their speaking business is producing profit. So yes, Sue, there are financial considerations you need to make in those circumstances, and they'll require strategic finance. The 12th and final accountability of this section, this book, and Org Chart 101 is strategic finance. Unlike the transactional accounting work we discussed in the last tip, this accountability is all about the transformational duties that truly result in growth of the business. By that, I mean the activities whose value resides more in the future value created for the growth of the business versus the immediate value of a transactional activity. The last accountability or tip was concerned with documenting what happens, whereas this tip is concerned with the decisions that make things happen. Ooh, that sounded Kluby snackable. Using a credit card to pay for a speaking business is transactional, whereas the decision to apply for business credit is transformational. Documenting if marketing expenses stayed within or ran over budget is transactional, but establishing the marketing budget and policies for approving over budget marketing expenses is transformational. Stay with me for a minute. In my opinion, one of the biggest stains on the speaking industry is all the money speakers waste investing in the things that are marketed to them, say it with me, that don't work. Now the truth and self-responsible thing to disclaim here is that nothing works unless we do. By the way, that is a Kluby snack that appears in the upcoming book written by Jeff Klubeck and Abby Klubeck, Kluby Snacks. Okay, that is a Kluby snack. All right. If we are super honest, any of the marketing investments we have made could work. Say it with me, quote, if we just make the time, right, end quote, to thoroughly work the strategy, system, steps, secret, blueprint, or whatever we just bought, hoping it would fast track us to the results we are now not producing for our speaking business, right? There it is, Kluby snack. Nothing works unless we do. I told you it was a Kluby snack. Right? Are you still with me and wondering what this has to do with strategic? And by the way, but in this, right, it's funny, Sue, real quick, this Kluby snack is brought up in the context of strategic finance on Org Chart 101. But then Abby chooses it from the list, not seeing it in this context, puts it, and then she talks about, like, books don't write themselves. My dad's been on me to finish my portion of the book.
Yes. Yeah.
It's incredible. Anyway, all right, here we go. Are you still with me? And when I wasn't even still with myself. That's funny, Sue. That's the funniest thing. When I say stay with me and then I lose myself and go on my own tangent. But yes, Jeff, I'm still with you, as my alter ego is saying. How much fun is that? Are you still with me and wondering what this has to do with strategic finance? Stay with me. Are these purchases strategic or impulsive? Are they within budget or over budget? Are they purchases or investments? Are they assets or expenses? I hear a lot of speakers and even more coaches complaining about all the things they bought that don't work instead of admitting that the investment was not strategic, budgeted, vetted, or approved through a check and balance system, let alone implemented and integrated into daily functionality within the business. So we blame the person who sold us this thing that doesn't work instead of taking responsibility for not taking responsibility for this accountability of being strategic in all aspects of finance. Still with me? Smiley face? Right? It's kind of fun. I want to say it again. Do you want me to say it again? I want to say it again. Right? Yeah. Are these purchases, I'm going back, right? Are these purchases strategic or impulsive? Are they within budget or over budget? Are they purchases or investments? Are they assets or expenses? I hear a lot of speakers and even more coaches complaining about all the things they bought that don't work instead of admitting that the investment was not strategic, budgeted, vetted, or approved through a check and balance system, let alone implemented and integrated into daily functionality within the business. So we blame the person who sold us this thing that doesn't work instead of taking responsibility for not taking responsibility for this accountability of being strategic in all aspects of finance. Still with me? Here are some core questions that most speakers I know, myself included, do not know any, most, or even some of the answers to, or only generally or vaguely at best. Parentheses, I hope. In your case, I'm wrong. Ready? Here we go, Sue. You can tell I'm gearing up. What makes your speaking business money? No, this is not the same question as what generates revenue. What were your total sales in your speaking business last year? What is the rate of change in your speaking business? Subtract last year's sales from this year's sales and divide the increase or decrease by the previous year and then multiply by 100. Example, 125K minus 150K equals 25K increase divided by 125K equals 0.25 times 100 equals 25%. And that's the most math I'm doing all year. Okay. What are the gross and net margins in your speaking business?Both are found when the profit, if there is any, is divided by the total revenue, but the difference between the two is the growth of, I'm sorry, I can't even do this. I'm laughing too much. I'm going to start again. So do you see why? Oh my God, I'm starting to shake and transform and change colors. What are the gross and net profit margins in your speaking business? Both are found when the profit, if there is any, is divided by the total revenue, but the difference between the two is that gross is before and net is after tax and operating costs, such as paying yourself for the hours that you speak and the money you wasted on fast marketing scams that you didn't have time to implement, and parentheses. Most speakers will find zeros or negatives if holding themselves accountable to calculating profit margins properly because, next question, what are your speaking business costs? You should not bet against my burritos. That costs directly affect profits. It was funny, wasn't it, Sue? You should not bet against my burritos. That costs direct directly affect profits. And the measures most speakers take to cut or control costs are the same decisions that negatively impact the customer experience or the prospect's perceptions. Let's break this down a little. COGS equals cost of goods sold, also known as direct cost. How much does it take for production, material, labor, inventory, distribution, or other expenses? It's just our time if all we have on our menu is speaking, right? Never mind that I already recommended adding more than speaking to the menu. Even if it is just speaking your time that you sell, a real business will do the work to identify a real number and answer to this question. What is the total expense of selling your speaking? Maybe you find the answer in operating costs. All right. Operating costs. This is like so 101 on accounting, but here we go. Operating costs are non-COGS costs required to keep the business running. So not cost of goods sold, but just operate the infrastructure around the business, keep the business running, such as support fund, salaries, compensation, rent, marketing, R&D, utilities, equipment, travel, continuing education, especially all the expenses of meeting the previous 11 accountabilities. We're at the end of the year here, Sue. I'm getting ready to renew my membership in Provisors. That's going to be a couple $1,000s. I got monthly expenses for my membership at the university club. I've got, you understand? These are expenses that meet the accountabilities, but they're not calculated in the cost of selling my time unless you have a multiplier or a factor from the marketing department that you add. I mean, like, oh my God, it gets crazy, right? Interest on loans and other expenses such as legal fees for liability situations or intellectual property applications. Yeah, I'm thousands of dollars in on all the IP that I've secured for Get a Clue in the integrity game. Expenses of selling an asset are not part, I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to slow down. I'm getting excited. Interest on loans and other expenses such as legal fees for liability situations or intellectual property applications or expenses of selling an asset are not part of running the day-to-day business, but they do affect the bottom line. Taxes are costs, like collecting money is expensive, right? I can't Kluby snack this one. That's pretty common. Taxes are costs, right? But I mean, it's like, pain is mandatory, but suffering is optional. Tax are costs, but they don't have to be debts, burdens, and so forth. So we want to be smart about all of this. As we mentioned in the last tip, they are the unavoidable costs, but the last tip was all about getting ready to pay for them, whereas this tip suggests you get strategic about legally avoiding taxes. What are the assets of your speaking business, and what is your return on assets ratio? Parentheses, am I making it easier for you by offering this formula? Net income divided by total assets times 100. Hey, only if you are able to fully calculate your total assets, and most speakers I know, myself included, that's a purposeful typo, are not or just do not, right? What is your inventory? Parentheses, if all you sell is speaking, it's the total number of hours you are available to speak. Yeah, no, minus travel time, minus prep time, minus sleeping. So how do you calculate how many hours you're actually available to sleep when you factor for all the other hours it takes to get ready to speak or to show up to speaking? I had a 90-minute speaking gig in Newport Beach, right? It was an hour and a half up the road, but guess what? That was an hour and a half one way, an hour and a half the other. So 90 minutes became 4.5 hours, right? And then I met somebody from Provisors up there for a happy hour. So that was, that time gets billed to the marketing department. And so how many hours was it you follow? So anyway, I'm going to keep going here. What is if all you do is speaking, right? It's the total number of hours you have available to speak. Yeah, no, not really. And what is your inventory turnover ratio? Hint, the cost of goods sold divided by inventories. Does that help? What's that behind you? Don't make me do math. All right. What is your revenue sales growth? Hint, this year's revenue divided by last year's minus 1 times 100. Did that help? If so, did yours come out negative or positive? Oh my God, bless you. You see why I'm trying to get through this quickly, because I'm like totally triggered by all of this, all the calculations, the costs, all the stuff I don't like to do. And anyway, I have a lot of admiration for anybody that's doing all of this and nailing it perfectly. Congratulations. All right. Does your speaking business have any liabilities, monies you owe, debts, or exposure to unanticipated legal, repair, or other costs? Can you put a dollar value to the liabilities to find out at any given time if the value of your assets exceeds the amount of liability in your, quote, speaking business? I don't need to deal with any of that, Jeff. I just sold speaking. Okay. Is there any equity in your speaking business such that a lending institution or an investor would consider you a low-risk borrower if you decided strategically, I hope, that taking on the interest expense and debt liability of a loan is worth the projected ROI you will get when reinvesting what you have borrowed? Equity, quite simply, is your assets minus your liabilities. Is your speaking business worth investing in? Would a bank or an investor lend you money to run or grow your business in exchange for equity you can offer? Don't answer out loud, right?
No.
I once
No.
Right. I once sold 35% of Get A Klu Inc. to an investor for $500K that Get A Klu then used to invest in a 50% stake in another company's assets and form a new company around them. Less than a year later, I sold my interest in the new venture, which included getting all 35% of Get A Klu shares back, plus some cash for my equity in the new venture, on top of the salary I got as CEO prior to selling of my interest. Everybody won, and I still don't call what I have a business. I think you get it. It's time to wrap up this section and volume of Get A Klu in 52. Finally, I got here to my favorite part. Cue the music. One more accountability on the chart. One more accountability. I don't describe my own business as a business. I call it a practice, partly because I cannot honestly or accurately answer for my own practice so many of the basic core questions listed above that most legit businesses will have immediate and accurate answers to. When it comes to this accountability, here we go. When it comes to this accountability, the closest I will get to calling it a business is when I will say my busyness that prevents me from doing a better job at strategic finance. To the music. You nail one down, you pass it around. If you are still not convinced from this tip that calling what you have, there should be an A right there. If you're still not convinced from this tip that calling what you have a speaking business might not be the best way to describe what we have, then I just won't ever be able to convince you after 3 months of this, right? And the truth of it all is that I honestly do not care what you call what you have. I only care that you build and grow and expand and thrive and prosper and impact with whatever it is that you have. I simply use the "are you sure you want to call it a business" right angle to create a string through all the tips in this section that allow me to point out the real struggles and challenges a speaker or any solopreneur will face in growing their business. I call mine a practice. It really doesn't matter what you call it unless deep down you know you're being dishonest, fake, phony, or out of integrity about something. People pick up on that stuff. And I want you to struggle and fail as honestly as I have in getting my practice to where it is today. Onward I grow. Maybe one day I will call it a business. 12 down. Is it worth it? Does it run? What does it sell? What must we know about the marketplace? What does and how does the marketplace know about us? How do we convert prospects to clients? How and how well do we get repeat and referral clients? Where does all this take place? And what do you, your prospects, your clients, your vendors experience when doing business there? How are we increasing liquidity and reducing waste when we pay for the things we need? Has everyone paid us what they owe us in ways that maximize cash flow while reducing labor hours required to get paid? Are we current and compliant with our records, bookkeeping, reporting, and taxes? Are we worth anything to investors, lenders, or potential buyers? Or could we profitably sell our business today if we wanted to? And resume the music. No more accountabilities on the chart. No more accountabilities. Well, not for this volume anyway. Perhaps the next volume of Get A Klu in 52 will be all about the responsibilities of bookkeeping or human resources, or deeper dives on some of the tips we only scratched the surface on this volume. I conclude this section by simply suggesting, just as I would for any of my clients when they are experiencing pain or bottlenecks in their business, that we review the 12 accountabilities in this section when we are self-diagnosing our own business growth challenges. Does it hurt here? Does it hurt here? How about here? How about here? Okay, take 12 of these and call me in the morning. And I hope you, like Sue and the other speakers I've coached throughout the years, use the 52 tips in this book to discover your purpose and gifts, build your brand, write phenomenal speeches that connect with audiences wherever you go, and create a profitable practice or business that exceeds your expectations. And there it is. That's the book. And there's space from notes, and we put some charts back here, and there's some actions and that people can take to exercise it, and a little bit about me. Those are not bad pictures. This is the 2009 version of me. This is circa 2020, circa 2019. Anyway, just to show, when I started my business, that's what I look like. And I still don't call it a business all these years later. It's just a practice. And then here's Sue, your co-author. Sue, wonderful, wonderful to do this with you. I'm going to stop sharing now and bring us back into conversation. Congratulations. We have done it. Another 52 tips are read and recorded. And now we got all that content to repurpose and share all over social media and stay in this game. What say you?
Well, it's been an amazing journey for one. And more specifically, I was going to comment on this section where this was a big mistake I made many years ago, where when revenue was coming in, I wasn't partitioning it out and caught myself out, because when it came to tax time, cash flow was an issue. And there's a little program called Profit First that I was introduced to probably 4 or 5 years ago. And it's interesting that a bit like a builder who never really completes their own home, I come from a finance background. I was fantastic at doing everybody else's finances. Wasn't so good at doing my own.
By the way, that's another Kluby snack. Surgeons do not operate on themselves.
Yes, indeed. And it was just a very simple concept that was so insightful for me, running and managing my own income from my side hustle at the time, where by taking these accountabilities that we've talked about and doing a little bit of work, I was able to give some percentages from the overall dollars, what needs to go into different buckets.
Yep.
But making sure that I was managing it in a way that I was still giving myself something to start with, that there was a reason for doing it, and that there was an incentive that I could actually enjoy the work that I was doing, because I'd be able to have a percentage that I could go and spend on myself, but making sure then too that there were all the other buckets, so that I met my commitments from a tax perspective. I could cover my expenses of marketing or anything like that, the cost of the business that we talked about. And it made such a difference of just having those percentages that I could go, as soon as that revenue came in, bang, 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 I had it all allocated out. So
that's what we're talking about. I mean, there's a good friend of mine, Jason Surya. I don't know if you've heard that name. I've maybe mentioned over the years. He's a financial advisor, district advisor for First Command Financial. He's, I've been coaching him for well over a decade now. I've worked with so many of his team members, and I was there early in his career when he was coming up the ranks. So I remember when he used with the financial advising career, they pay for you, they give you a little bit while you're studying and getting your licenses. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay. And then and then after a while, you show that you're a producer, and then they cut you off of your training wheel salary. You know what I mean? The hey, you're in training right now, and then they get you up to full quote unquote adult compensation. But now it's commission only, but it's usually a larger percentage. And do you know all of that stuff? So I was with him when he cut the umbilical cord and went from training to full blown, and then he rose up and got recruited to Prudential, major corporation, and then came back to First Command, and they gave him the district, and now he's got all of a whole 3-4 cities of advisors beneath him, right? But early in his career, back before he kind of made it, I remember he invited me to go watch him speak, and he was giving a talk, and he basically said, I got this term from him. I always credit him for just the simplicity of this. Is like guilt-free dollars. When you're spending, you want to spend guilt-free dollars. Yeah. Right. And in this context, not only do we want guilt-free, but we want ignorance-free, worry-free, prayer-free. Dollars, right? And it's like we want empowered spending. It's just like when we say yes or no. If I say no to something, it's got to be empowered no, not like I want to, but no. No, it's empowered no. Or if I say yes to something, it's like I don't think I should, but yes. It's like same thing with our expenses and the decisions that we make with our monies. But I like that you said Profit First is the program that helped you. Basically every dollar that comes in, it needs to be allocated. Yes. I've got the dimes model, like 2 dimes stays in the house, right, for operations and finance. Then a dime for marketing, a dime for sales. That leaves 6 dimes for overhead and service delivery and customer service and facilities management and on and on and on. So that's just a rule of thumb, and then you shift from there based on context, right? So there's got to be some mechanism. But it was you saw me get like rattled just reading through this stuff. It's like it's nails on all of it's nails on a chalkboard for me. Even though I can support somebody else or I can coach or ask the right questions, I don't like doing any of it. None of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, what else? We're there. Oh my God, 10 minutes before I got to. Okay, here we go. Not only last call for the session, but for the year.
I know.
Last call. Anything else come to mind, Sue, that you want to share or ask or say before we dismiss for this weekend, this year? I know you're going to be back on. By the way, it's going to be Sunday nights at 8. I don't know if that'll work for you, but yes, it might be Monday in the afternoon for you. But yeah, we decided
that might work well, actually, for me. See how we go.
We'll see how we go until she goes to school, and maybe even when she goes to school, because she's going to be. We know now she's going to be East Coast time. 8 p.m. here will be 11 there, but 11 in New York is kind of like 8 o'clock here. Wait, you know what I mean? But like the city that never sleeps. And you're a college student and you're in New York City. I mean, 3 a.m. is a perfectly functional time of the day. I'm so in admiration of the experience that's in front of her. Like both of my kids, Sue, like if you would have asked me 20 years ago, Jeff, if you could go to college and write your dream story, what would it be? Oh, it would be, on a baseball scholarship, right? Or it would be New York City on a pre-law track. That's what it would, if I could have just had a blank check. Journalism and pre-law in New York City or baseball scholarship. It's crazy how both of my children have managed to do what I could never do. And that's the name of the game, right? That's like the most wonderful thing. That's my last call. That's my last expression of gratitude.
Yeah. I have a little ditty to finish off. There once was a speaker so bold, whose finances were hard to control. They learned to be wise, tracked expenses in size. Now their profits shine brighter than gold.
Very cool. That's specific to strategic finance, I'm sure. I heard the references there. All right. Yeah, I got to put the banner back up. That was a ditty for strategic finance. So now backing up to the section as a whole or the year as a whole.
Look, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful journey, and I went back and watched our very first tip yesterday. Watched the recording, and what I've enjoyed for myself is the shift from such a nervous start, quite hesitant, to now feeling very comfortable to be online, be on screen, have a conversation. And so thank you for the opportunity doing 52 weeks. I feel I've grown, and it's been just an amazing, wonderful experience.
Good. Well, I'm proud of you, Sue. There's not many people that can say they do anything 52 weeks in a row consistently. And so whether it's show up or, the credit goes back to you. You are a learner. You want to study. You want the info. You want the goods. I'm grateful that my brand and my flavor, my silliness, my joviality, my tongue-in-cheeky, my raw, wear it on my sleeve, kind of throw care to the wind. What? Anyway, I'm just grateful that my brand resonates with you and lands with you, and it's time to see you. You know what you can do. You got all of this content, you got all of this experience, you've learned from the tips, you've got the coaching. I'm here in your corner all the way. So I'm looking forward to watching. It's been fun the last couple of weeks to see you post independently rather than just forward or share my posts or like or comment on mine. I like seeing you grab stuff and put your own original posts out there. And I'm sure you're just going to keep it rolling now because you know what's possible.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
So
all right.
we'll see what we can come up with. But I am now also very excited for you as you roll into a new year with Kluby Snacks and the opportunity that you have before you with Abby. And
there it is.
So tell us more about it.
Well, I only have a minute, but like I've shared the cover before. This is like now we got back cover copy. It gets real when you assign an ISBN number and generate that barcode, and the formatting is coming through. I'm getting messages from Stella and everything. I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring it up. Let me see oh yeah, check this out. So Stella, amazing work. This is for the interior design. Can you see my screen? The advanced praise.
Yes.
Okay. So everybody that took time, there you are, Sue. You all get your own little rolling pin. It's so cute. And then the menu. We love the menu, Abby, and I love the way the menu laid out. And this is a preview of all 52 snacks. And it was a small little thing, but I enjoyed writing just a couple of keywords about each snack. So you can't, it's not the whole thing. It's really like a legit teaser. There's enough content in the table of contents to pique some curiosity, but not the whole snack. And then of course, when you get into the book and you read the whole snack, now it's just open to interpretation. So you're going to interpret the snack on your own, and then you're going to read what Abigail has to say about each snack. And so the dedications, and then look, here's the foreword by my wife, Marianne, and it's just the recipe for the original Kluby snacks. So like a part of this book, it's all about Abby. It's all about Abby. It's all about me and Abby. It's all about, Kluby and but this is like an homage. This is a subtle, honoring of Marianne and how, she doesn't need the limelight. She just keeps stabilizing our family all the time. So, and then here's our motif. We took out chapter 1, so that's going to be out of there, and the jars are going to be bigger to create more room for the graphics to breathe. But these are the sections: loving flavored, ego flavored, discipline flavored, and integrity flavored. 4 baker's dozens. And then here's like the section banner where I'll describe what this section is all about before we get into then each snack. And it's going to be grayscale, of course, for the printing of the book. But like this is a preview of snack number 1. When you really need to keep it all together, love is the best adhesive. So that'll be across the top. And then you'll see right here, what Abigail's response is to that times 52. So that's a little preview of the interior design and the cover and the project that's coming together. And if I didn't have something else in 3 minutes, I would probably promote the book for another 20 minutes right here that we're streaming. But I'm going to go ahead and I think you get into my last Zoom of the year. Sue, I love you. I congratulate you. I congratulate you. I thank you. And I'm proud of you. And now I watch you, with eyes wide open, watching what you're going to do from this experience. This was just getting you ready for whatever's next. So congratulations, and I'm always here to help in any way I can.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's, I just love working with you and look forward to more opportunities, I'm sure, over the next 12 months, 2 years, whatever it is.
30 years, whatever. All right, you guys. That's it. That's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Get a Klu 52 for Speakers with Sue. Klu and Sue all the way down under. It's a wrap. Yay, woo, high five, hugs, confetti. Happy New Year, everybody. And most importantly, happy Klu year. We'll see you on the flip side where we're going to be munching Kluby snacks all year long. All right, Sue, take care.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye now.